So today I'm going to do a quick down and dirty review of how to do Grasshopper. And I'm going to start with just some basic patterns. This is one of the assignments assigned by Jeff Hudak for Rhino 2 in Art Institute of Seattle's curriculum. So the first thing to understand with Rhino and Grasshopper is that Grasshopper is a parametric program, and it mathematically generates patterns depending on how you put things in, similar to Illustrator. So I'm going to just start by laying my base work and my primary. So what I want is I want a number slider. So you double click on the screen and type number slider to search for it, and boom, now you have a visual program of a number slider. This is a variable between 0 and 1. You can click on it. If you double click on it, you can change its factor. And then you can edit its max, min, its range, its numeric value, change all of it. You can even change its name. So from this screen that we're looking at right here, make a lot of different changes. So I'm going to just change it to a value of 10 maximum, 0 minimum. I'm going to give it its range. Just say that this is grid control. Something to keep in mind when you're doing visual programming is to keep things organized and accurate. So I just want to set this to 5. So I'm just going to move it over 5. So over here in Rhino, I have a polygon drawn, just a little pentagon, and then I used an area centroid control to generate a center point of that polygon. So I'm going to generate another one right now. But she ain't messing with no broke niggas. Possible. You can't even hear me. I'm gonna make a star, a little 5-pointed star. Make it a Kirby star. So generate that. Area centroid. Click on the outside, hit enter, and it generates a center point for you. So here in our primaries column, the way I like to line my Grasshopper files up is in columns. So in my primaries, I'm going to double click here and I'm going to type in point, and it's going to give me this hexagonal selection for a point, and I'm going to generate this. Now it's giving me an error message that's saying the floating parameter point failed to collect data. Well, that's because I haven't set any data for it. So I'm going to select this point in Rhino, then I'm going to go into Grasshopper, right click the point, and go to set one point. So now, when I go into Grasshopper and I select that, it gives me a little green X over this point that this is bound to. Now I'm going to double click again, and I'm going to type CRV, similar to the Rhino command for curve, and it's going to be this little hexagonal thing for a curve. I'm going to place this, and it's the same story. It's a hard data point, or a hard data set, that hasn't been bound yet. So I'm going to take my hexagon here, and I'm going to set one curve. So now, this is bound. I'm going to do the same for my other pieces. Do it much faster this time. Or perhaps not faster. So now that I have my primary information, now I get to start setting up how I'm going to make a pattern out of this. In a secondary column, I'm going to open up a command called hex grid. So this hex grid has all sorts of radio buttons, different inputs. The first one is for the base plane for the grid, so I can change its value defined in a world of X and Y. So I can put in coordinates and it would give me a size. So one locally defined value of 1.0 changes the size of this grid. That's what we're going to use our number sliders for. So you click here on the little tail here and you line this up. So now, over here in Rhino, that changed instantly the size of our hexagonal grid. Now you have the number of grid cells in the base plane of X direction, so I can change how many X hexagons I have, or it can just stay at its base value. And then I also have a vertical amount. This is a 5x5, so if I wanted to enter in a number, set number, so let's change it to 20. And I'm going to link both these up here, and now our hexagonal grid is huge. I've created a massive hexagonal grid. So the outputs of this are the grid cell outlines. So I have all my different, basically, post pattern. You could send this into a G-code pattern and it would cut along those lines. Or you have the center points, which is what we're going to use. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to make a point. Now, you can define existing points, or you can create points from Grasshopper into Rhino. So we're going to generate a point at every location that is listed in this list here by doing this. So now we have this entire map of points. So, because this is a mathematical program, so, hold on, let me review real quick here. We have our primary, which is our hard data set, the stuff that we drew, and the stuff that we control. We have our hex grid, which is a secondary control. And then we have our point cloud, which is a tertiary control. In our fourth controls, we're going to create a vector, because as I was saying, this is a math program. So we're going to choose this command called vector to points. So we're going to figure out what a vector would be to move from one point to another point. So we're going to mathematically figure out, hold on, let me get this to highlight, the base point. We know where that's going to be, and then we know where our tip point is going to be. And it will give us a vector over here. Now this is also going to give you a vector length in case you need the length of what that's going to be, and then you can use that for other calculations or anything else. Or you can unitize the output and you can change it to inches, you can change it to meters, eons, light years, whatever you'd like. So we're going to put in our base point of our wonderful little pentagon, and we're going to put in our tip point of our point cloud. So now we have a vector, but if you click on this vector, nothing happens here because it's just calculating distance between these lines. So in our fifth control, we're going to type in a move command. So this is going to actively move things wherever. So what you need is you need base geometry, our pentagon, and then you also need a translation vector, our vector. And now I have all these pentagons. And so once you have all this programmed, you can move, change it, and if you ever want to take off something that you have clicked, you hold Control and drag it back. This is a little easier to understand here. So, you can move that. Now, all of this is theoretical. None of it actually exists until you right-click and you hit Bake. And I'm going to just put it on the default layer because I haven't created any others. I'm going to create some new layers. Straight up, honey, really, I'm asking. Most of these niggas think they be macking, but they be acting. Who they attracting with that line? What's your name? What's your sign? Soon as he buy that wine, I just creep up. Names don't really matter. So I'm going to unprogram these. We definitely want to move this, but let's say we want to make a change to this curve, this base geometry. We want to scale it, or I'm going to turn that all off. We can scale it, or we can rotate it. So let's put in some secondary controls. So let's go with a rotate, base geometry, and now we're going to need an input of a hard number. So we're going to rotate it by 20 radians, since we have a 20 live. Now I can move this, boom, here, and now I have a rotated geometry. But that doesn't seem like enough, so let's change the scaling. And I'll add a tertiary control of a scale. So we're going to enter in our rotated geometry for the base geometry. And here, that's the center of scaling, so we're going to put in this point for the center of scaling. And then we need the factor. So let's put in a number into our primaries column. We're going to set the number as 0.75, so 3/4 the size. We'll change that. See if we can clear this up just a little bit. And then we will move our base geometry over to the move. And now we have a scaled, rotated, dynamically changing pentagon. The same is true for everything else. You can use all of these controls, all of these commands. Pretty much every Rhino command exists in here. If you wanted to do a... I don't know. Perhaps a... let's see. Having a brain fart. Oh, yeah, you could mirror. So let's go with a mirror. So let's draw a line. Line. set that line. So now we have that line, so we can add a mirror. Geometry. So we can add the line, plane. Boom. And now we have added a lot more. We'll bake that. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into how to do Grasshopper. It's all visual programming, and it's all about keeping things organized and clean so that you can understand them down the road and create things. This is a basic definition for a basic pattern, but it is a good jumping off point for getting things moving with Grasshopper. There was also a request for me to go over some minor rendering things with the Rhino render engine, so I will open up a file that is good for that. So I'm going to open up this. So this was our Trek pole assignment. So, over here in our sides, we have all sorts of different stuff. But let's look at the post, because that is a fun material because it's carbon fiber. So, we're going to look at its properties. So just click on one of your items. So you can go to texture mapping by clicking at the top. You can apply a surface mapping. You can apply planar mapping, apply box mapping, cylindrical mapping. So this is a cylinder, so we're going to apply cylinder mapping. So we have cylinder mapping. Oh, this is on the shaft layer. I apologize. So we have this texture that I have coming through at 80%. So if you wanted to change its opacity, change it down to 10. So it's almost transparent. Or I can change it up to 100. So it's nice and opaque. If you want to change its gloss, its reflectivity. Rhino 5 is a little different than Rhino 4. If you want to modify the scaling and mapping and stuff like that, you have to do that from the item and properties. I believe it is right. Settings.
zone, I pop that trunk. Come get some pistol grip pump. If a nigga step on my white air once, it's red rum. Ready, here come Compton, Dre found me in the slums, selling that skunk. One hand on my gun. I was selling rocks and Master P was saying, buck past the blunt. It's G on the girls just wanna have fun. Coke and rum, got weed on the tongue. I'm banging with my hand up a dress like, I make it come, purple haze in my lungs. Whole gang in the front, case a nigga wanna stun. I put Lamborghini doors on that Escalade. Low pro solo, look like I'm riding on blades. In 1 year, man, a nigga so great. I have a straight bitch in the telly going both ways. Touch me, tease me, kiss me, please me. I give it to you just how you like it, girl. You're now rocking with the best, straight pound on my hip, Teflon on my chest. They say I'm no good, cause I'm so hood. Rich folks do not want me around. Cause shit might pop off, and if shit pop off, somebody gon' get laid the fuck out. They call me new money, say I have no class. I'm from the bottom, I came up too fast. The hell if I care, I'm just here to get my cash. Bougie ass bitches, you kiss my ass. This is how we do. We make a move and act a fool while we up in the club. This is how we do. Nobody do it like we do it, so show us some love. This is how we do. We make a move and act a fool while we up in the club. This is how we do. Nobody do it like we do it, so show us some love. I put gold Daytonas on that cherry 6-4.
There it is. So click on your image once you select it. You can add a transparent color. This little gray to come through. Really highlight it. Change it up. Make it pop. And set it to repeat 0.1. Banks and get this motherfucker crunk. It took 2 months, but 50 got it done. Signed with G on it, had niggas like, don't try to front, I'll leave your ass slump. Thinking I'm a pump, get your fucking head lump. 50 got a gun, ready, here it come. Gotta sit ready, together to get this. Try to be my book, better than drama. Set us if I'm up, better my flow sounds better than average. On tracks, I'm a savage, I damage any nigga tryna front on my clip. G, you net. So it just requires some messing with it. And that's much better. Much more like a carbon fiber material we have there. And that's about how you do it. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, email me or stop me at school and I can help you out any further. Or text me.